because something is common doesn't make it normal. There's a difference between the two, and it's the perception of it. Like, why is my body waking me up during the night? Then I have people say, oh, it's because I drink a litre of water before bed. Okay, we'll go a week without drinking a litre of water before bed. Do you still wake up? Yeah. Oh, like, what is it then? Test your blood glucose, see what's going on there, and okay, we'll just have a little protein snack before bed. It's usually signs, as we said, the blood glucose side of things. And these are people, and going back myself, like from bodybuilding days, like I think I've been seeing you here, or not here, obviously in the old practice, since just after my first show. So that's 2008, end of 2008.
I was going to say,
it's crazy.
You're going to suddenly go, Jesus, it's been that long.
Yeah, Jesus, like we're getting old. But I would say I was healthy in that state there. Obviously I wasn't, but that was what was deemed fit for the purpose of getting on a bodybuilding stage. And whatever, like you're lean, you've got veins everywhere, but it's not healthy. And like the perception was still to push myself. And even now, like I do struggle with the perception of that, oh, people look at the pictures of how I used to be, and like, I'm not a personal trainer now, I'm a functional medicine practitioner. Like, it's the perception of myself.
Don't you think in society though, we've been really trained to that, we have a perception of what is attractive, we have a perception of what youth looks like,
what success is,
a perception certainly of what success looks like. The Olympics at the moment are a classic. For some people, their level of success as an athlete is they got to the Olympics. There's a huge amount of focus on the gold and silver and the medal element, but that's actually such a small element of say like 100 meters. There's only a select few are really competing for that, but for many they actually get into the Olympics. To be an Olympian is a major success within athletic career. So we have a real thing of perception and health, but we have a big thing of what we perceive as what is healthy. So and so it's hard to define what is healthy. One of the things that in chiropractic we talk about is robustness. So that ability to have trauma, whether it's physical, emotional, chemical, and bounce back. So it's going back to the heart rate variability element. We all going to have traumas, and there's a great one on the emotional side of things, is that trauma is not the event which happened to you, it's the physiological adaptation of the body to that event. And so with those people who really battle to adapt and pick up from that, that's the trauma, that's the physiological effect. It's not the event, because two people can have the same event, but one seems to cope and get over it, and the other one, it spirals out to whole sorts of other issues. But they had the same event. So the trauma isn't the event. It's the adaptation, it's the perception, it's the recovery, it's the processing.
But there's also, like one thing I do with clients is we do an exposure history, which basically, we go back from basically like day dot of their health. Things that have happened, mold exposure, stress, traumas that they've been through, and we look through it, and it's crazy because like they might see something and start doing something, and they don't realize that it was their subconscious holding on to that memory of when something happened. There was someone I was speaking to, and he was saying that his dad actually died when he was a kid because of drowning, and he went to an interview. And there was a machine just like the water machine over here, and they pressed it and he heard like the glug, and he basically had a panic attack. And he hadn't heard one for a while, and he looked back deeper into it, and it was his subconscious. He was there when it happened. His subconscious witnessed that. Now he'd forgotten it. He'd take it out of his conscious mind, but the subconscious was there, and it does that with our health so much that
the subconscious
we don't realize
more than the conscious.
Subconscious does not forget.
No,
and it will try and keep you safe. So like when you feel anxious about a certain situation that you know you should be doing, subconscious is probably like, hey, calm down, just like let's not go there, that sort of thing. And I think it's an underlooked place in healthcare, where it's always let's look at the symptoms, but what truly did start? When did that symptom start?
But this is the big shift, is that I think people are waking up to it, whereas they are asking why rather than just what. Because there is a shift in the realization that a lot of if you look very carefully at some of the adverts on TV, some of the health products, they will even say it's a bit like the packet of on cigarettes, smoking kills. even on some of the medications, they'll say effective in the relief of the symptoms of XYZ. But we then really get to the point of saying, well, that's what the treatment of XYZ is as a medical condition. But they're really just effectively making us more comfortable by managing the symptoms.
Yeah.
But not really, no one's really taken enough time to say, okay, can I reverse this? Can I improve this? Or are there other things that I can do? I just did a patient once at GP, and we were talking about COVID, and we were talking about the effects on consultations. And so they're really now trying to juggle with the element of, can we keep some elements of online consultation, because for some situations that works well, but we still need to do face-to-face. So they're really struggling with that. And she was saying that that's a surprise that there's a lot of people who have been woken up on the idea that I'm now regarded as vulnerable because I've got diabetes, but it's been controlled. I have no problem, but now...
Controlled by medication.
Exactly. So I thought everything was okay. And I said, well, your symptoms are managed, but you're still diabetic. So you're still put into a vulnerable category. And they're like, well, I don't see myself as vulnerable. I don't want to be vulnerable. So now they're asking, what can I do? Do I need different medication? And I said, no. And then she was saying, you've got to look at your lifestyle, and they go like, oh, so there's this waking up, change of perception. But on the other flip side, she says she's still got some who's going, I just want a drug. So they are very much aware that there's still this idea of perception of, can I help myself or can't I? Or do I just take this drug and get on with my life?
Taking the drug, perception-wise, is easier. We know that. Because sometimes,
but a lot of people don't realize they have a choice to influence it themselves. They just think, I've just got to take the drug. I've just got to.
I think it's the belief to be able to actually get to that healthy state, because sometimes people, and I know before, when I was really overweight, that I felt I was so far away from getting healthy. This is a long while ago now. It's when I was 20 years old. So it was, I've got 100 pounds to lose. Why even bother? Because it's going to be so hard to do it. And is it just easier to stay here and just kid myself that I'm happy, that sort of thing? Yeah. And eventually, you start losing it, so you continue losing it, and so on. And then one thing led to another. I got on the bodybuilding stage, but it would have been easier to not do it.
Isn't also, we're talking about perception, isn't it? It's interesting because for some people they can then take it to the nth degree, to the other side.
I went from one extreme to the other.
They then almost, bulimic, anorexic, these concepts, because of the psychological element of that I need to work even more.
But
so it's all about perception.
My perception was that get muscly, not healthy, get muscly, and I would be really confident.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, because I had to do the work up here and in here to actually get confidence up. And I still have days when I'm not as confident as people think, but the perception was, if I can do that, I'll be really confident. And don't it helped with a bit of confidence, being able to do it, know what is possible. But I went on stage 7 times, so I've done 7 shows, and didn't build my confidence enough. It was that this actually made me more unconfident, because I thought people wanted me to look, or thought I looked that way all the time. My Facebook profile picture was doing a side chest pose or something. And so you think, people think you look like that year round. And for starters, that's a bit of a weird tan to have year round. But that perception was there. And then it went to that extreme where, as you know, I would literally be overtraining, under eating, exercise bulimia essentially, leading to binge eating and stuff like that. So it is one extreme, and it was based on perceptions.
This is why I find autobiographies really quite interesting, because they give a chance, especially if you look at a high profile person who's at the end of their career, especially sportsmen or women, and they write autobiographies where they are a little bit more released. They can say what they can, share stories more. Worry about
sponsors as well, that stuff.
And so last night on the cricket, Kevin Peterson him and Nasser Hussain were doing a talk about technique of batting and all sorts. And they asked him about preparation, and they said to him, you used to come out and bat and be this gladiator, and this, I'm tall and I'm here and I'm come to fight, going to smash the ball all over the place. He said, where did you get that confidence in that? And he turned around and said, it was just a show. He said, before I batted, I would be going to the loo. When I get nervous, I go to the toilet more. He said I'll go to the toilet 10, 15, 20 times, depending on how long it was until I went out to bat. But he says, as I knew going to bat, I knew that if the fielding side and the bowler knew that I was, in his words, like bricking it or so, then I'm halfway. I've lost the challenge already. So he said that was a persona. He says that was the perception that I wanted to be. He says, but inside, he says every time I performed, I was nervous as anything for failure.
But you can convince yourself that way,
and
right?
So then you look at the crowd going, oh, he's great, he's so confident. But when you break it down and they think it's a perception, it's very often not the case. And I think it's refreshing to hear that someone who's so successful by our definition as a career, where he still would have self-doubt, he'd still be trying to prove himself, and he would be not as we would perceive.
There's a Bear Grylls show, Running Wild, and he takes celebrities out.
Yeah,
I've seen some of them. He's had Obama on there and stuff. I mean, it's like amazing to like the stories he has with them and the chats he has with them. And there was one with Dave Bautista. Now, I used to be a wrestling fan, and Bautista was wrestling at the time. And you look there and you think, oh, this guy's so confident and he's like so successful. And he'd done a couple of films, and he said before he got Guardians of the Galaxy, he was literally a rock bottom and was about to go bankrupt, because he just didn't have the confidence. And like you see him doing this, and you see his actual fears, this action hero, and he's climbing this rope ladder, which is pretty scary, but like it is about perception. Like, they're actors, and there's been studies that actually talks about I don't know what they actually done, what metrics they'd done, but there was actors that played a really depressed part for a couple of days, and then ones that actually like played a happy part. It was the serotonin and dopamine levels were so much like more balanced in the ones that were playing the happy part. The depressed ones just went low, so then they started craving more, which makes you think about people that play a part in soaps. Obviously they're getting good money for it potentially, and like someone in EastEnders, and they play someone from like 10 years, they literally become that person.
It's interesting.
Day in, day out.
So does their physiology change if through that length of time they are playing someone who is portraying highly stressed and is
I would say so.
That would be interesting.
Depends how much they get into it. Exactly.
Yeah. The more you're into it, if you playing that, and that's I don't know what filming 5 or 6 days out of 7 kind of thing, and you spending a lot of time, because you hear of actors, don't you, of staying in character.
Yeah.
When they're doing filming,
in big films, yeah. And you look at someone like Christian Bale, like going into his he had like The Machinist, like Batman Dark Knight, I think it was, or Batman Begins. Then he had The Machinist, where he had to play someone who was anorexic. Then the next Batman film, and then there was
when they have to literally change
Vice
their,
or so. So it was like
their body shape.
In great shape, anorexic, in great shape. Then he played, I want to say, Dick Cheney. Was he Vice President? Dick Cheney?
I think so.
It might have been him, but Vice it was called, and he had to play him, overweight guy, like balding and everything. And then he had the next Batman film or something, like, and then to get into that part.
So then to finish up really is then the perception is those people are successful, they can do all this, but
what's their health like?
From a health perspective,
they're going to have a lot of problems going on.
So yeah, it's interesting. I think perception is a huge thing, because we deceive, we deceive ourselves. So what kind of things perhaps out there does that relate to you? Does that lighten you to some of the things we are exposed to, as we said, always with media, with perception of society, but sometimes it's good, honest home truths to ourselves in the privacy of our own minds and our own fortresses of where we are. And if our big message always is, it's not only the what, but it is more significantly the why. So hope you that sparked some interest. We're obviously always available for feedback, or you want to connect with Ollie and I, we're obviously available. And if we could get a chance to influence your health or move you or support you in any way, our doors are always welcome, or open. Welcome. We're always welcome.
Unless they're closed.
Unless
we're not
until
here.
They're closed.
Drop us a message on social media.
Right. Until next time on Unplugged, take care. We'll see you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.